Welcome to video 3 of the series with Katia and Fernanda. Are we going to make it a thing?
We're gonna make it a thing. It's a thing.
What is this marvelous device? What is a Healy and how do we use it? The way that Fernanda and I are going to talk to you about the Healy right now is really valuable in the way that you then carry forward. And if somebody asks you, what are you wearing? And you're at a potluck with friends, feel free to draw from what we say here to describe what Healy actually is. Whatever you think Healy is or what you think it does, we promise you there is so much more. It's actually mind-blowing.
Yeah.
For what we're dealing with in the world, frequency has a lot of beautiful options. And I was just talking to our dear friend Lacey, and she said something so good. I remember I had to write it down. She said, Healy is not an object. It is a paradigm shifting moment. It's like a key into another dimension. How beautiful is that? I love that. I
Yeah.
see Healy as a little frequency device that helps us become essentially energetically sovereign beings. I'm talking about sovereignty over our health, over our finances, over our relationships, over our wealth consciousness, all of it. Healy helps us optimize our energetics and that of our families. And there's more stories to come on that. I really love what Derek Nakamura also said, that Healy looks in the mirror, but it also looks in the closet. So working with the Blue app specifically, it helps us uncover ancestral patterns, unconscious patterns that can bubble up to the surface so that we can transform and transmute them. And frequency medicine is here. It is literally revolutionizing healing and wellness space. So I'm really happy to be riding this wave and learning. It's the perfect support system for anything you'd like to achieve. It is important to say that we do not use Healy as a diagnostic tool necessarily, but it can be used anywhere you want to increase the efficacy, the efficiency of any treatment. So if you're already engaging in a modality like Chinese herbs, naturopathy, homeopathy, massage, acupuncture, Western medicine, you name it, it can support all of those treatments by optimizing the voltage of ourselves, by bringing us into coherence with that original blueprint that Fernanda was talking about earlier. So the microcurrent, in a way, enhances the effect of anything else that you might be doing. I also heard Healy described once as a dowser instead of using it for diagnosis. So that's an important distinction for us. Should we talk about the founder a little bit? Marcus Schmieke, he's a really cool dude.
Yeah, Marcus Schmieke is interesting, and I love his energy. People that are with him and meet him, they always say that they think that he is going to be this, more proud man, and he's just so humble and sweet.
I watched a few videos by Marcus Schmieke, the interviews with him. There's one 35-minute one in the Boards app that's really beautiful. And it made me so honored to hold this device in my hands. Knowing his background, where he's come from, his intentions, also made me feel really safe that we are in great hands. So Marcus Schmieke is a German quantum physicist. He's a philosopher. He was a concert piano player in childhood, a chess champion in his youth, and he lived as a monk in an Indian monastery for 12 years. The Healy Lab, with its team of, I think, about 100 quantum physicists and frequency geniuses, is located in a castle near Berlin. Pretty cool. And Marcus has dedicated his entire life to studying the common thread between science and spirituality, that place where science and spirituality and philosophy merge, how matter and consciousness interact. Yeah. Have you seen videos with him?
I have, yeah. He's fascinating. Well, another fun little fact, if you guys ever watched the movie Richie Rich, that's kind of how I imagine Marcus Schmicke's castle, because they say that the whole bottom layer of his castle is his quantum physics lab. So I just think of that movie, where there's this genius lab underneath the castle. But yeah, I have watched his interviews, and it's fascinating what he's created here, and to know that his frequency signature is in this device. I mean, how amazing is that? You have this genius man who is the embodiment of science meets spirituality, he himself. And that's what he has done, is create something as an extension of him for us to be able to ride the waves of entering this new world where science does meet spirituality.
Mm-hmm. And if you dive deeper into the world of Healy and frequency, there's so much out there on YouTube and in the Boards app, videos linked. You hear the word TimeWaver referenced. This is a sister company to Healy, and in a way, its predecessor. There are many TimeWaver practitioners. So we've talked about Derek Nakamura several times here so far. He is a TimeWaver practitioner. There's a lot of crossover. And these are practitioners who have been in the field of frequency technology for decades and have so much wisdom to offer. In deeper trainings, YouTube videos, if you're interested, it's all there. Also, some of these practitioners, like Derek, can even create custom frequency programs for us. Good to know, not necessary to dive into at this point. So should we talk about our favorite programs?
Let's do it. Oh my gosh, I have so many favorite programs, Katya. It's hard, but yes. I think, in practice, you will find that there are programs that are your favorite, but in general, there are some programs that across the board people just love. And that one that I'm going to just go for right now, sharing about, is coherence and bioenergetic boost. They're two programs that are sisters in that one module. And these programs are amazing. Bioenergetic boost is amazing if you're getting sick, and coherence is amazing all around, because essentially it's the way your cells will be communicating with each other. It's creating coherence within your body, but also within your life. I have just found, you become a clean channel of energy circulating through you in the most potent and powerful way. Those are two really, really, really powerful programs. Which ones are your go-to or favorite, Katya?
Hey, I mean, we didn't script this part, right? So I just went, because coherence is I would say my go-to, my favorite. I really love everything that Joe Dispenza does. Joe Dispenza is not affiliated with Healy at this point, but he talks about coherence a lot in his meditations, in his programs. So that was a concept that that has already been embodied in me through Joe Dispenza trainings. And that's why I was so drawn to the coherence program. One of the first times that I ran it, I was on the first day of my moon and was just really wanting to go inward. I laid down with a pillow under my knees and put on, there's a coherence meditation by Joe Dispenza that I have that's about an hour long. Coincidentally, the coherence program on Healy is about the same length. I put that on my heart and went into a deep meditation. And I had the most beautiful visions just of dropping into my womb. And I don't often experience intense pain when I'm on my moon, but I did that day. And within, I would say maybe 15, 20 minutes, I don't know, you feel time different when you're in spaces like that. But my pain absolutely melted away. And that's not always the goal too. When we are on our moon, we don't necessarily need to completely wish our symptoms away. We are supposed to feel this kind of very divine heaviness in our womb for a reason, to encourage us to go within. And so I don't want to say like put on Healy programs and then you'll be good to go and run around and do your life as if nothing is happening. But it can deepen our connection with what's going on, so that we can go to the very center of that pain, of that discomfort, of the messages, like the juicy stuff that awaits us in kind of like the eye of the storm, whatever you're experiencing. And coherence, I absolutely love. The gold programs are also, like, I know that we say those are great to begin with, but that's not because they're beginner programs. It is because they are actually, according to Marcus and many, many others, are the most magical in a way, and comprehensive. Like, you were going to say something.
No, I was just going to reflect that I loved how you said divine heaviness about being on our menstrual time, and, experiencing that when I am bleeding. The programs that I love to run, I love coherence, but I also really love to do those stress programs, specifically in the learning programs and job programs. I believe, I think it's, learning. In the learning programs, there's a stress and stress acute. And I find, for that exact reason, because I am feeling this heaviness, it's like I want to just give my body all that it can to detox from the levels of stress that I might have experienced all month, to release that. So it's just, when you said divine heaviness, I'm like, there's something to that we can begin to explore as women in this field, is like, what programs are we using when we are bleeding, when we're coming up to our bleed, just being able to track that as a community, and share this with each other, I think is really powerful and potent. And the more of us that come in with this consciousness, we can be doing that together. But, also going back to the release program and the gold, that too is like, when you're releasing, what do you want to release? Like, when you're actually physically releasing blood from your body, what stresses, what weights do you want to release? And using that program of release to help you along the process. Those gold programs, like Katya was saying, are not just for beginners. But one thing that is important to know, and I'll just share this here, is that if you have somebody that's never used Healy before, and you're going to put them on for a program to experience the Healy, start with those gold programs. Always. And on my kiddos, I find that when I scan them on that blue app to see what they need, it's most often a gold program. And when it's not a gold program, I take that kind of seriously. I have one son that's always, it's gold and chakras always pop up for him, and it's just kind of interesting to see what's always constantly popping up in their field, but it's often gold. So the gold programs are just amazing. And the sleep programs. Oh my gosh, there's one called Bed Rest that is fantastic, and it's stimulating the vagus nerve while you sleep. And sometimes people are like, well, the sleep programs aren't actually helping me fall asleep. They're not meant to help you fall asleep. They're meant to help you sleep deeper and sleep better. And some people run those sleep programs on a day when they didn't get enough sleep the night before. So that's kind of good to know.
Great for jet lag as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm just going to quickly read off the groups of programs that are in my pro. I went through the pages to kind of gauge, like, where am I? What am I drawn to? So there's gold, pain, learning, fitness, which, please take the names of the programs with a grain of salt. One, because we do have the compliance aspect of, like having to dance around, not promising that these programs are going to do what we hope that they'll do. And I'm trying to be really diplomatic as I say this, but sometimes I look at them and I'm like, fitness, come on. You could have used, a better term to describe this set of programs, because they are phenomenal in so many ways. So to give you an example, of that inside the fitness program is a weight program. It's called Weight. But when you look deeper into it, it's not a weight loss program, but it's a program to bring you into energetic balance, which can include dropping literally the weight, like the weight on your shoulders. And it can mean dropping the pounds. But this is not a promise that when you vibrate, if you vibrate that every day, you're going to lose a bunch of weight. I really love how Dr. Michelle Patrick talks about this and many other programs. She has a channel on YouTube called The Cheat Codes, which are absolutely phenomenal. And so I really loved how she talked about the weight program because like, what is weight to you? What are you carrying? And for some people, extra pounds can mean so much. So maybe you could run the weight program and wake up the next morning not having such a craving for sugar. Mm-hmm. So like your experience will be very different depending on your unique blueprint or the learning. It's not necessarily like these programs are going to help you learn stuff, but like Fernanda is saying, the stress program inside the learning module is phenomenal. The job and sleep module, I really love positive thoughts. I run that all the time, and balanced nerves, because really what we are, what we think, right? So you might roll your eyes and be like, really positive thoughts, but try it. I absolutely love it. The mental balance programs are wonderful. The well-being. There's literally a program inside the mental balance module that's called Feel Good. And when you see that it says SYST, SYST, short for systematic, meaning whole, like the whole shebang, the whole body experience. Beauty in skin was one of the major reasons that I upgraded my Healy to the Pro. And I love them. The skin elasticity program I run often. There's a fantastic program for scars, for hair, nails, and I'm just mentioning a few. There's more. Bioenergetic harmony, bioenergetic defense, and bioenergetic vitalization are 3 modules that also have many programs inside. And Fernanda, you like, sounds like you use those quite often. And there's so many programs in there: immune system, hormones, menstruation, circulatory system, thyroid, liver, kidneys, toxins, which I've used a lot for mold. I'm living in Costa Rica. For those of you who know me personally, it's been a struggle over the last year because as our land projects are in progress, we've been renting these little homes in a small village, and there's mold everywhere. I believe, there's no way to test this, but it's only because I've been running like allergy meridian, kidney meridian, and toxins that I am like vibrant and functioning, despite, unfortunately, living in places with such high mold exposure, especially in the rainy season. So I swear by those. That is my personal experience. There's also the bioenergetic boost. There's electrosensitivity programs like EMF. And if you want to learn more about that, in the Boards app, there's a whole video on EMF and Healy, which I thought was so fascinating for people who are like, well, but we already have so many devices. How is Healy contributing to EMF? If you have a Wi-Fi router in your home or anywhere around you, basically shush up. Because if you're okay with that being around your kids and in your home, this is like a fraction. Yeah, and actually helps with EMF because there are
it helps mitigate
to mitigate that. Mm-hmm. You said you've used the chakra program was it with Milo?
With Elon, my oldest son. Every single time we scan him, he's like, "It's going to be chakras, Mom. I know it." Chakras is either at the top or the second to the top when we scan him. And, it's just interesting. It barely appears for me. It almost never actually. And for him, it's always consistently there. It's interesting how it measures everybody's unique energy. And so I'm constantly running chakra programs on him through the Blue app. Yeah.
Who knows, right? I
Nice. Yeah.
There are also the digital nutrition mixtures, which are fascinating. We're talking trace elements, alcohol intake, even. And I haven't had to use that one, but I was talking to someone at the Florida retreat, and they're like, yeah, I can drink wine now if I'm at a party, and I wasn't able to do that before. I can have because of using some Healy programs, I can drink wine and not have a headache. And then for someone else, this program may mean actually if they've been enjoying too much wine, running that program really cuts the desire to have it. So how that's going to work for you, only you know. There are fertility programs in digital nutrition, wounds. There's one called children, even one on teeth, which interestingly has come up with my youngest, who's 15 months right now. Who knows again, but it's really fascinating because these programs have been so meticulously designed. And again, remember, within each program, there's actually a whole family of frequencies. So you're not just getting one frequency, whether it's wounds or children or teeth. And I don't even know how they came up with the name, but just I trust the intelligence of the program. And just by trying it, will you see what happens for you?
And sometimes it's been the weirdest things. Like I know this last week, the kids and I were all sick. And every time I scanned us, we all had skin programs show up. I thought that was so. Why skin? I didn't ask. I just ran the programs on us and we're all better now, but it's interesting. Maybe because the skin, in my thought process, I was like, well, the skin is one of the, detox organs of the body. It's either that or the lungs. So maybe we're having to do skin programs so that we're detoxing faster or something. I don't ask questions. I just run the program that it says. And I just appreciate how it's smart like that it, we can ask all the questions, but we won't get the answers. I just run the programs, and it's better not to put the mind into it and just let the body experience.
Absolutely. So once again, I'll say take the names with a grain of salt, because you might have something come up and you're like, what, why is this showing up? Speaking of Dr. Michelle Patrick, one of the most magnetic women I've ever met, and loves her Healy so much. She's a doctor of Chinese medicine and on other things. And she talks about the digital nutrition mixtures quite a lot in her channel, the cheat codes. And she talks about the lung meridian programs and the kidney just being so powerful for all kinds of things. There's also a module called Power of Three, which I found really exciting because I studied Ayurveda, and there are Vata, Pitta, Kapha programs to bring whatever is out of balance into balance. There's a friendly flora one and a conflict balance. And maybe we can mention just a couple of words about GNM, German New Medicine, and maybe homeopathics and Ayurveda. I mean, if you've been in this world, to me, conflict balance, I immediately associated with German New Medicine. And I'm by no means an expert, but it is very interesting. Like how would you be drawn, for example, to use conflict balance in German New Medicine? The concept of healing is related to conflict that could be really anything from being spooked by an oncoming car, or like thinking that your child is about to fall, um, an argument that you had that is literally a conflict, or like really, it can be anything, being awoken out of a deep sleep and be, like anything could be conflict. And so I've been using the conflict balance in my meditations. And the way I think of it is kind of like, you know, the way birds flap their feathers to release whatever like conflict tension so that it doesn't um, seep into their cellular memory and then become disease. That's how I've been using conflict balance. I feel like there's so many more stories to tell, but let's leave it here for now. We're really excited to hear from you, share your own experiences. And in closing, I'll say that there is an entire Facebook group, 75,000 people and counting, called The Frequency Experience, that is just dedicated to people sharing their stories. You're not allowed to sell in there, but your referral links. It's just people who have had extraordinary personal experiences. You can even go up to the search bar right there in Facebook and type in whatever it is that you might be interested in, to see if there are people sharing stories, anything from cancer to Hashimoto's to using it on children. So that might be a great reference to look at stories as well. Thank you for being here with us. Go drink a glass of water. This is a lot of information, and we'll see you in video 4 for the coaching and aura analysis discussion in the Blue app.